So a while back, a friend of mine from work came up to me and asked if there's any way you can straighten a lawnmower blade. And my response was basically, yes, but it's usually cheaper just to buy a new one. You can hammer them flat cold, and it may or may not break on you, and if it's bent, it probably will break. And, you know, if you want, I could take it and I could heat it up, bend it back, reheat treat it, balance it, and all that. But it's probably not really worth the time to do, especially since lawnmower blades aren't overly expensive. So she decided she's going to get a new one and says that I can just have the old one because there's really nothing else for it besides throwing it away and so that I can use it. So I'm like, okay. A little ways later, after we both forgot about it for a while, she brings it to me, and of course I'm expecting something to be bent a little bit, not too bad. And this is what she hands me. I really don't know what kind of rock she hit that caused this, but yeah, it's pretty well bent. So I decided, you know, perfect thing to make a knife out of junk. My plan is, I'm gonna of course hammer this, major bend out of it, hammer the whole thing completely flat, and then I'm going to just take my angle grinder and belt sanders and kind of cut and grind it the shape I want. Then of course gonna put an edge on it, reheat treat it, and then I'm gonna wrap I'll probably use some sort of a hemp cord or something with fiberglass resin in the handle. I saw someone on Instagram do a knife similar to that. They just labeled a lawnmower blade and had a similar hole to in the middle, so I'm assuming that's what it is. I'm like, yeah, it looks pretty cool. And I've been needing some kind of smaller, simpler builds on account of my job doing a ton of overtime lately, and I'm still trying to do weekly uploads. Because, you know, I feel stressed if I don't. Anyway, so I figured what a perfect time to make an apocalyptic knife out of basically junk. Because I'm pretty sure I just checked. I have everything laying around in my shop. So I won't actually even have to buy anything, and hell, it probably cost me a couple bucks to actually make. And this isn't really worth anything else. So, yeah, a quick tip. If your lawnmower blades look like that, don't try straightening them. Just get a new one. Not to mention this thing was rusted pretty good. It's still usable, but probably on its last leg anyway. But anyway, I'm going to chuck in the forge, hammer it flat, and go from there. Yeah. Okay, so I have everything flattened out, and I'm not gonna lie, this is thinner than a lot of the ones I've worked with. Like, it's really thin. Anyway, so I kind of drew up my basic design, and forgive the large amounts of lines, it makes sense to me. Basically, I'm just kind of drew out a small handle and kind of a point. Very, yeah, like I said, ignore all the lines. I know what I'm doing, sort of. I really don't, I'm just pretending I do. But my basic plan is I'm going to cut out the little shapes here, kind of grind the shape a bit, maybe do a bit of sanding, kind of finalize everything up. Then, of course, I'm going to sharpen an edge all along here. Pretty standard. Then once you get that done, it's time to heat treat it. And so, because this is a lawnmower blade, I don't 100% know what the steel is, but from what I've been able to find, usually they're kind of like a 440-ish steel. So, not anything high quality by any means. But they're usually somewhere around there, and that's usually easy to harden. Sometimes simple stuff is the easiest. And, you know, usually simple is cheap. At least when it comes to this. Not that this is probably any quality by any means. Hell, this could just be mild steel as far as I know. Probably isn't, but you know, still cheap. So I'm gonna go ahead and put the cutting disc on my grinder, cut it off, do a bit of final shaping with the grinder, and then I'll probably grind the edge on that a little bit and sand it. Not gonna take a lot of work. Okay, now I have it ground and an edge cut into it. It's not the cleanest, but then again, this blade is really, really rough. Old lawnmower blade. Anyway, so I'm gonna heat treat it, and basically once that's done, I just have to wrap the handle, which shouldn't take long. Honestly, the hardest part is trying to grind this edge in, which is not very sharp, but it will be once I'm done. My sanding belt's kind of getting worn out. But I didn't want to put a new one on just for that. So, yeah, I'm gonna go chuck this in the forge, quench it in oil, and then put a handle on it. Okay, so now my blade is heat treated and tempered. Not gonna lie, this thing was a bit of dust there. This thing was kind of a pain to temper because it's, I don't know how well you can tell, but it's like stupid thin. Even for a lot of lawnmower blades. I've forged lawnmower blades before, I've never had this kind of problem with them. So, yeah, this one's thin, no wonder it bent. But, anyway, I'm going to go ahead and take my fiberglass resin that I've mixed up here. Got some, this is just hemp cord I've had lying around. And I'm going to put a bit of resin on, wrap the cord around it, put some more resin on top of that. And I don't know how many layers I'm going to do. I might just do one layer and call it good, or maybe a couple. I have done this before on a World War II smatch that I made a couple of years ago. I've also done something similar on the post-apocalyptic nightsticks that I made, only those used paracord instead of just hemp rope. I want hemp rope because it kind of fits the junk, plus it's been sitting around my shop along with the fiberglass resin. So, yeah, this is definitely something. So, Okay, so this is the completed blade. This took me like maybe an hour or two of actual work. Pretty simple. Had a really big problem heat treating it because it warped. I looked at some of my other lawnmower blades, and even the cheap Walmart lawnmower blade is thicker than this one. This is like, I don't even know how thin this is. Let me just measure it real quick. Okay, it's like 1/8 of an inch thick, plus, you know, rust pit, so it's probably thinner in places. And that is really thin, especially I'm pretty sure most of them that I have are more like 3/16, maybe. One second. Okay, so finished blade here. This isn't my prettiest blade by any means, but it should do some damage. For just being junk and stuff I'd lying around the shop, it could have went a lot worse. I do like the shape of it. It does kind of have like something you find in a post-apocalyptic movie or video game with the wrapped handle. It's probably a piece of crap by its actual everything. It's about 1/8 inch thick, which is even thinner than most of my lawnmower blades. Most of my lawnmower blades, at least along the spine here, are closer to about a 3/16 instead of 1/8. So it's pretty thin, plus it's rusted in a lot of places. It's got pits and stuff all over it. Definitely gives it like the apocalyptic look, but you know, kind of not the greatest for functionality. And the handle it's not comfortable. But, you know, I've definitely used a lot worse for probably a lot more than what this is able to take, so we'll see. Basically, since this was just kind of a quick build, again, trying to get caught back up on videos and get ahead a little bit from having to do a bunch of overtime with work and having some bigger projects planned and some smaller ones, you know, usual. But anyway, my basic plan for this is now that it's done, I'm just going to see what all I can do to this. You know, some basic cutting tests and then just chop it into stuff and see how long it takes before it breaks or just it's completely bent to shit. I did test it in the vise after tempering it, and it was very springy. Like, I could bend it to the side and let go and just kind of bounce back and forth like a spring before it go back to sitting like it normally would. So it's, you know, gonna hold up a bit, but it, you know, it's no spring steel machete or anything like that. Again, really thin. That's gonna be its major downfall. But beyond that, see what it can do. Good as new.